Now in that verified token, just give me 1 second. Yeah, in the verify, is the middleware. Or there is something called as verify token. This takes the token and finds out the user ID from that and then saves it in the request body. This is where I'm saving the user ID in the request body. Does that make sense? The token contains the user ID and I'm taking it from the token. That's what it is. Sir, but I'm getting user as null. User as null. Let me go to the code. Controller. You're getting users as null here. Where are you getting it null? Here? Users you are getting null? That means you don't have users in your database. Make sure there are some users in the database. Or are you getting it here, where you are getting it from the user ID? In is admin. Just give me 1 second. Is admin. Where are you getting user as null? Try to check the spelling of user ID. Yeah, try to check the spelling of user ID. Are you getting the right user ID from the decoded? Are you sending the proper user ID? So try to see from the starting. First print what you are getting here. Okay, try to come here and print console.log request.body. First of all, print here. Okay, once you have printed here, then see if that user with that ID is present. Then print here as well. Come here and print. And one step at a time, you will be able to decode. Okay, the key thing that you need to remember is the key thing you have to remember is go back to the router and see what is the sequence in which this is happening. So first, find all is getting called from the users. First the token is getting, then the admin. So try to see at each level what is the ID that you are getting. Maybe there is a spelling mistake somewhere, which is the most probable chance. You might have saved and try to go back to auth controller as well and see if this sign in sign in there is something called as token. Try to see that you are using user ID here, not ID or something else. Line number 79. Try to see this line also. When the token is getting created, what are you saving in the token? If you are not saving it as user ID, you will not get it as user ID. Okay. Can you tell me what you are saving at line number 79? User ID. And what are you using in the verify token here? What are you using here? Decoded or verify token? Same. And then you are saving it in the request body.user ID. Can you print what you are getting in the request? Can you print the request body here and maybe here also? You're getting request body as undefined. Is the spelling of request correct in there and here? I'm not sure. Yes. Okay. It should not be an error. I have copy pasted your code. That is the problem. Try to fetch it. Try to get the code from the GitHub link, click it, and try to see where is the difference. Okay, that might help because this code is working. So you can get it from the GitHub and check the difference.
सुबह के घुमा ले छुआ मन स्कूल पढ़बे
Okay.
संगीता दिए बेटे को छोड़ रखल रूम कमाई चले
Now I was talking about this ticket controller. I've created ticket model. Let me spend some time creating a ticket controller. Of course, it will not have all the bells and whistles that you look for in a controller, but it will be a good controller that can do most of the things. So I'll come to controller and I'll define a new file called as ticket.controller.js. First we'll have user. User is just require model / user model, and we'll have cons ticket is require models / ticket model.
नगदियों के लिए पैर दे मुझे सब पैसा खत्म हो गया पर आ 10-12 जमा करने से होवे
constants. So it will require utils / constants const object converter require. Now you will understand why I have object converter, because I'll need it here as well. So far, so good. Now I'll define 4 functions and I'm going to go over each one of them one by one. First I have exports dot create ticket.
वैसे छोड़ा नहीं बिहारिन के रखी 2 बच्चे हो गया लेकिन अपने छुआ मन लगा
This is equal to
मोबाइल में देख के खुश है अब आंसर होंगे सब
response.
मोबाइल में देख Facebook
and we'll have exports dot update
क्या लग दी है को 8 साल का 5 साल
equal to async
मदद क्यों लगी
correspond response. Then we have something called exports dot get all tickets. Is also async response. And then finally we have something called as exports dot get one ticket. This is going to give one ticket. Let's look at each of these functions one by one. First of all, let's look at create ticket. Let's कर दूँगा जैसे कर ले खत्म कर ले अच्छा अच्छा excuse me. We'll have a ticket object which is containing few things. Let me see how many lines are there in this. Okay, there are a few lines. We need a random object to create the ticket first, which is all request.body. I'm going to talk about the request body in few minutes. Okay, this should not be equal. It should be colon. There should be title, there should be ticket priority. Request.body dot priority. There will be description. Request.body dot description. There will be status. There will be request. Body. Reporter is the person who is creating this ticket. So we'll have reporter, which is request dot body. Actually, request dot user ID. I'll typically call it body dot user ID. I'll save it in like body. I don't like keeping it at the higher level. I'll just keep it at the low level. We can also do this like using deconstructor. Deconstructor, but you'll have to define. The body might contain some more things, so you want to be specific about what all you want to choose from the body, Ankit. Okay. So you want you want a very focused way of working with your objects, because this data is going into your into your DB, so you want to be very clear about you need a lot of control over what gets into your DB. Then you have engineer, which is user dot find one engineer, and this is user type instance dot user types dot engineers. Get an engineer, and here's the status. Should be constants. Can you tell me what should be the status of the engineer if you want to assign him a ticket? He should be an approved engineer. You cannot assign to somebody who is not approved. Get an engineer like this. Once you have the engineer, you can just do ticket object dot assignee is equal to engineer dot user ID. Get the user ID of this engineer and assign it to the ticket. And now do the try block. On ticket is equal to await ticket dot create ticket object. That's all there is to it. If you ask me, that's the whole process. Get the data, put it into the model. But there are some more things that you need to do to say that you have completed this one. So first thing would be if you are able to if you are able to create the ticket. If ticket is not null, means you have created the ticket, and do const user is equal to await user find one. and user ID equal to request dot body dot user ID.
मच्छरदानी नहीं फुटोनी मैं कहाँ हो नींदो नहीं लागी मच्छरदानी है नहीं तो के लागेल कि मैं घर में
For this user, I'm going to create a ticket, user.tickets. I'm going to say for this user that this ticket is created for him. So for the user, I'm going to say any one of them. This is a good point. Yeah, that is a good point that Satyendra and Hariharan is talking about. You want to do some randomization. So I'm not doing it right now, but typically you would want to have multiple. You want to do some kind of random fetch instead of a single fetch. Okay. So I'm not discussing that service which is going to automatically see which engineer has how many tickets and all that. I'm just abstracting out to find one right now, and that is a general point that I want to make. The general point that I have is each of these steps which I'm writing here can be broken further down. You can have much more bells and whistles at each of the steps. But I'm keeping it simple for the pedagogy. I want to explain the overall architecture rather than explaining how each specific thing is working. Okay. But there can be a random fetch, random find one in Mongoose. How to find random record in Mongoose? That should be the idea behind getting a random record, but just find one is going to give you a random record all the time. Just let me check if it is true. Just give me 1 second. Find one Mongoose queries. There is find one. Object optional fields return queries that option. Find one command in MongoDB will return an arbitrary document. Okay, this is going to give an arbitrary document. So I'm assuming that it will give you a random document. I'm not sure if that is a strict condition that holds, but just give it some seconds. My computer is stuck. My computer got stuck. Please give me a few minutes. It says it gives the arbitrary document, but I'm not sure if it is always random. So yeah, I don't want to get into that specific point right now, but yeah, you can have something like that. Can we do something like find the engineer who currently has least amount of tickets, assign the ticket to that engineer? That is a good idea, Arnav. That will take some time. That will take some query time, but it's a good idea. Or maybe you can have a different service which keeps on assigning. Maybe you can have a different cron job that keeps on assigning different engineers. So you can put all the tickets into a queue and then fetch tickets from the queue, and then it gets assigned. Okay. That is one thing that I can think of right now. So what you can do is you can have a separate service. The whole job of that service is to assign the tickets. It is like a queue, and you put all the tickets into the queue, and there is a cron job. All his life's purpose of this cron job is to convert these tickets into assigned tickets. These are open tickets, and you convert into is pending. And how do you do that? You assign an engineer to each of these tickets based on who is less available, who is more available. Okay. And so this will be a queue. And what you can do is you can keep a heap. What is cron? Cron is a small job that keeps on running. You can think of it like a robot that keeps on running. Yeah. In architecture, there are sometimes some queries or some things that you want to run on a small serverless instance. What are you discussing? I'm discussing the fact that you want to, I'm discussing the fact that you might want to assign different engineers different tickets based on their availability. Okay, you have a pool of engineers, you have maybe 4 engineers, and you need to decide which engineer gets which ticket. Okay, that is the problem. Right now, I have created a simple find one function which gives a random engineer to you. There is a possibility that a single engineer gets assigned all the tickets. It's low probability, but it is still possible. To remedy that problem, I'm suggesting an architecture where you put the tickets inside a queue. You can use maybe a Redis queue for this, and then you can have a cron job that looks at the availability of current engineers and then assign the ticket to the most available engineer. Or it can also be done another way. There's one more thing you can do. You can have a place where you store the on-call engineer. There's something called as on-call in companies. On-call is a person who takes care of the tickets that are arriving in a particular week, and there is a rotation. So this week maybe Karan is on-call, next week Nilanjan, then next week Arnav, and so on and so forth. One person will be at on-call at each time. And then what you can have is you can always assign the ticket to the current on-call. Okay, so those are a couple of options that you can explore in this case.
सुतो मरियम सुबह जल्दी उठना जल्दी उठना
Does that make sense or no?
हम उठेंगे उस टाइम उठना ना
Who else asked this question? Does that make sense? Satyendra, Hariharan, Karan, and Arnav. Okay. Nice discussion. I like the fact that you are thinking about this problem. So what you need to do is you need to say that the ticket is created, and you need to come here and say ticket dot underscore ID. Push the ID of the ticket into the user, and then you can just do await user dot save. This is going to save the user with a new ticket ID. Okay, this is like pushing the changes onto the model. Similarly, you can do engineer, the engineer that you have fetched above, and you can do ticket. It's assigned. So whoever is the engineer, I can do tickets assigned, and I can push ticket dot underscore ID. And again, I can do await engineer dot save. And finally, once you have created the ticket and assigned it to the user as well as the engineer, you can send a response saying status. You can send a status of 201, which means success, and send the object converter dot ticket response. I'm going to write this response in few minutes and send the ticket. Okay. You can send an object convert. Ideally, you can directly send the ticket, but I'll just create object converter further. Can you show the user model once? I can show. I can just show. And you might be asking, where is these two things, ticket created and ticket assigned in the user model, Satyen? The fact is they are not there, but since this is a schema-less, you can add them. Okay. That is yeah. What it means is these things are not there in the schema, but you can add them. There's no problem in adding new things into the schema. Okay. Are they predefined? They're not predefined. You can just maybe just give me 1 second. Let me check if there is a change in the user model. Yeah, there is. Sorry. I'm sorry for that. We have to update the user model as well. So where is the user model? And in this user model, there are two more fields that we need to do. First field is ticket created, tickets created. It is going to be of type mongoose dot schema type dot object ID. Is there an object ID? No, it should be schema types. Schema types dot object ID. Similarly, this is reference for ticket. Okay. And this object ID is coming from ticket. Can we? Yeah, you can embed. That is also a possibility. You can embed it inside the user. But here we are just going ahead with a reference. Both of them are possible. You can embed the ticket or you can keep it as a reference. This will not happen a lot. So why am I not keeping it as embedded? Can you think of a reason for not keeping it as embedded? I kept the profile intact, but I'm not keeping the tickets as intact. Why is that so? Satyendra, can you think of a reason why I'm not keeping it as embedded? Why tickets created is specified as object ID? Because I'm going to pass the object ID of that document. You know what object IDs are? I think I've discussed this in the class where I was taking this underscore ID is what the object ID of that is. This is the MongoDB index, yes. So now when I'm saving these object IDs in this, it will not slow down our query. That is, it might slow down. That's not the problem. The problem is we are not going to query this that much. We are not going to look at all the tickets raised by customer that often. It will happen once in a while, but mostly we will be just looking at a particular ticket instead of looking at all the tickets raised by a particular customer. That will not be a very common query. Therefore, I don't want to save all the tickets at one place. Okay. Can you please explain line number 23 in ticket controller? Line number 23 is basically creating a ticket. Ticket is a model and I'm creating a ticket called as ticket object. It is like pushing a line. Line number, what? Line number 23 is this only, no? From line number 23 up to end. So line number 23 you understand. Once the ticket is created, you get the user ID and you get the user who has created the ticket. You already know the engineer because we have taken the engineer from here. You already know the engineer to whom this is assigned and you take out the user who has created this ticket. Once you have the engineer and the user, you can say that the user dot ticket created, I'm going to push a new ticket value into that. So user will have one more ticket assigned to him. Ticket created by him. This is the array of all the tickets that this user has created, and I save the user. Similarly, there is a list of tickets that a particular engineer has been assigned, and those list is called as ticket assigned, and I'm going to push this ticket ID into the engineer's database. Does that make sense, Hariharan? Finally, I'll explain ticket response in few minutes. I'll going to write the code for ticket response. Ticket response is going to be a short piece of code that is going to convert my ticket into what I want to send to the user. Save is same as create in DB. Save is same as update. You can think of it as update, Nilanjan. You have seen find and update. It is same as that. You don't want to do it again. You don't want to update again. You don't want to find again. You can directly save that object. You can think of it as line 23 is going to create the ticket object. Aradhya. Does that make sense? Hello. Ticket response. Ticket response I'm going to explain. Just wait for a few minutes. Aradhya, does that make sense? Creating a new ticket. Okay. If we don't write save, what happens? Nothing happens. You just have an object which is the user object, which contains a ticket, but it is not saved into the DB. So the object in the RAM will have this user ID, but the DB will not contain it. Okay, Likit? Yeah. So that's there. Try is happening, then you'll have catch, which might have an error. If there is an error, we can do console.log sum user ID and reporter. Yeah. What is the problem with that? User ID. It should be the user ID that we are getting. Reporter can also be, you can use reporter, ticket object dot reporter. That's okay. They are the same thing. Yeah. In body, we are passing reporter. No, we are not passing reporter. In body, we are passing user ID. You see here. Ticket object, reporter is the ticket object. There it is. Oh, there. Okay. So let's go forward. Some error happened while creating ticket. Okay. And then I can do error dot message. Let's save the message. And then I can respond the status as 500 and send the response that. Ideally, this should also be a string, which is a constant. I don't want to write it again and again, but I'm just hand waving at this. So that's how you can write. That's how you can write the create ticket. Now I'm going to write the ticket response object converter, which is going to be my utility. In the utility, I'm going to write a ticket response converter, which is going to convert my ticket object, which I have gotten, into a response that I can send to the caller of the request. Okay. So here is how it is. There's also a simple function, which is export dot ticket response. Now, again, you might be thinking at this point that how will I remember all these things when I code a new system? Like you might be thinking that way. And my response to that would be not to think about the specific smaller scale details, but to think about the large scale system. Because most of the time what will happen is when you go into a company, they will give you a already built system. You will not be building it from scratch. And if you understand the structure of the system, you will be able to update these things. I'm going to paste rest of the code. I don't want to write a lot of things. This is very basic code. So there are some of you who think that it's a good idea to just send the ticket back, but there are some things in the ticket that you don't want to send back. For example, there can be some things in your ticket that you don't want to send back. Or for example, the ID, you don't want to send it as underscore ID. So you want to send it as ID instead of underscore ID. And all these things it's always a good idea to keep a ticket response variable here. Okay, so that's how we can do the ticket response. And let me check what is the time and am I moving on time? Yeah, I think I'm on time. Ticket controller. So this ticket controller should work. The last thing is to create a router for it. So I'll just come to routes and I'll create a new router, which is ticket.route, routes.js. Create a ticket router. This is going to const ticket controller. It's going to require get the controller and get the ticket controller. Once you have the ticket controller, you can do two authentications. I'll just do with one authentication right now. Although there is one more authentication that, if time permits today, I might write it, or maybe I'll leave it for a future lecture. It matters. It depends on the time. So there's one more. You also want to check the request. So I'm not writing that part. Middlewares. What is the problem? Middleware slash auth JWT. I'll just write it like this. Yeah, things looks correct. And now I can just do exports. Sorry. Module dot exports. You can have a function that takes an app. All it does is app dot post, because this is a create function. App dot post, you can write a CRM slash API slash ticket. If you post a ticket, then that ticket will get created. You can send the auth JWT here, which is the middleware. In auth JWT, you can send verify token. I don't think this is needed. That's correct. Verify token. There's also one where we can update the request body. I'm not doing that. Again, I'm iterating on that point. And the final thing is to go to ticket controller and call the create ticket function. And I'll write it in 3 lines because it requires it. It deserves 3 lines of code. This will be the first line. And this will be the third line. Okay. Any questions about this router? By this time, you have seen this router 4 or 5 times. So you should be able to follow on this. Are you able to follow? Hello? Yes. Okay. Vivek, are you following the router? Hello? Let me check the verify token function. Let me check the verify token function if I'm using the correct one. Yeah, user ID. That is correct. Everything seems to be correct. Now I will run the app. I'll cd into 9 and this I'll do node app.js. So the admin is already created. Why don't we create a ticket from the admin? So I'm going to open my Postman. And Postman, I'll come here. I'll write localhost colon 3000 slash. Why is it not catching? CR slash API slash tickets. And this will be a post request. And what am I going to post here? Let me look at the body. I'll have a JSON body. And what are all the values that I need to post? Let me check. But first, what is the first need that I have? I need to log in as the admin. Okay. So I log in as the admin. Send this. I'm able to log in. What is the problem? What am I getting here? Admin unshell, that is correct. Get this is string. This is the token that I got. Now I'm going to go to the post request. First thing, I'll come to the header, and there should be something else. Access token. In this, I'm going to paste this. My token is ready. In the body, I'm going to write some of the things that I have about the ticket. I'll need a title. This is a string. The title is the first ticket. Then you'll need a ticket priority. Let's have a priority of 2. And then you'll have a description. Just write random description for random ticket. And what else you need? Status is rev. Priority will be set by default or by the admin only. Priority will be set by default to be 4. But if you don't send the priority, it will be set to be 4. But if you send, it will be whatever you send it. Okay. So you can override the priority. If I don't send the priority, it will save it as 4. If I send, it will basically save whatever I have sent. It's a good idea to send it. It is also called as status. We can have status as open. And that's it. That's all the things that I need to send. Am I forgetting anything? No. If I send the title, priority, description, and status, my ticket should get created. Let me send it and see what happens. What is the problem? Cannot post to CP API tickets. I think there is some problem. No. There is some problem to the. Oh, got it. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So you have to come to app.js, and you also have to do here. Here you'll have to do. I don't like this writing again and again, so I'm just going to do require colon dot routes slash ticket routes ticket routes, and you can send the app. This is a short way of writing these two lines. You don't need to define the variable. You can directly write it like this. And this makes it easier to read the code. Okay, so you can directly write these here. Okay. It is essentially the same idea. You're importing the function and calling app on it. Okay, and look how beautiful it looks. When you don't define the functions, sometimes writing less is actually more descriptive. So if I remove this part, sorry, no, this is required. So this one, no, just give me 1 second. Oh, control, sorry, yeah. If you do this, tickets are created by admin. No, tickets are created by any user. Since I had the login of an admin, so I was using an admin card. Okay. You can write it like this, and it's easier to read. Now I have auth as app, user routes as app, ticket as app, so I don't have to look everywhere. Previously, it was not as descriptive. So that's one thing you can keep in mind. Sometimes writing shorter code is good. Now I'll have to restart my app because otherwise it will not work. So I'll just come on Control C, and I'll just do Node.js. Since my login is current, so I should be able to run this function. Send it. Some internal server error. What is the error? Let's check the error in the description. Ticket response is not a function. Okay, there's some spelling mistake. RESPONSE. I have not created the right spelling. So, ticket controller. I see ticket response. Save this. And start the function. And go back to Postman and send this. And ticket got created and assigned it to current 4248. Current, you were assigned this ticket. Reporter is the admin. Happy? Do you want to see another ticket if I create? Let's suppose I create another ticket and see if I don't send the priority, what will happen? Okay, suppose I don't send the priority and I'll say this is the second ticket. Second ticket. Random description for random ticket. And should be great. Let me send this. And let's see what gets created. Now the ticket priority is set to 4 because that is the default value. Does that make sense? Who was asking this question? Nilanjan, does that make sense? Ticket priority is set to 4 automatically. Okay. So that's how you can work with the tickets. You can create tickets. Let's look at some more functions. Let me check the time first. We have half an hour, so I think I might have to. How is this being assigned? It is being assigned using a random function. It is saying fetch me a random engineer, find one, is going to find a random engineer, and that is going to be assigned to that engineer. Okay. This is how create ticket is working. Now let's look at update ticket. Update ticket is going to take a ticket and update it. Let's see how it is. So ticket creation is done after verification of access token and not is admin is not checked. Nilanjan, a ticket can also be created by a engineer or a customer. Typically, a customer will create a ticket. Uh, it's not needed for a engineer. It's not always needed for the admin to create the ticket. First is that, and second, the access token is always checked because you are going to get the user ID from the access token. Okay, Nilanjan? Yeah. So now let's talk about the update ticket. And I want to discuss how this ticket will look like first. So I'll first write the router for this, and then I'll come back to this. I'll come back to this function in a few minutes. But first I'll write the router so you understand what kind of function I'm talking about. Let me close all these different everything other than ticket controllers. I'll create everything. I'll close everything. Yeah. Now I'm going to open routers of ticket and I'm going to create a new route which is for the update. Any comma app.put. Put is going to update the ticket. This will be on crm.api.tickets/:id. What does this :id means? What is ID? If I do :id, what does ID means there? It's a param. Exactly. So param is ID. And you are getting a token, so you'll have auth jwt dot verify token. And finally ticket controller dot update ticket. This is how so you have a token, you have a ticket, and you have some body in the ticket. You have some body in the request. Now let's look at the ticket controller, and we'll write the code for updating the ticket. Okay, so I'm going to give you a version of this code, which may not be the version you will code up in your case, but to save time, I'm going to give you a version. It's not the ideal version. I mean, it's. I mean, there's nothing ideal about it. There can be other versions which are equally good depending on your use case. Okay, so let's look at this, and then it will make sense. Const ticket is equal to await ticket dot find one. Which ticket are you going to find? Looking ID, and you have the ticket ID in params. Therefore, I wrote the router first because I want to use the params. Params.id. Simple. Are you able to follow line number 46? Hello? Line number 46. Look at the route. Route says ticket :ID, which means ID is coming as a param. So you remember I was writing how to find. We can use find and update, or we can use the save operator that we have seen. We'll use find. We will use directly save operator. Okay. We'll not use find and update. Okay. So this is this. We need something more about this field. We need the saver of the ticket. I need the saved user. What does this mean? I'll explain. This is the user who has the right over, who has called this function. Okay. Find one. Find me a user with the user ID of request.body. It's not the person who created the ticket. It is something else. I'll explain. Just give me 1 second. User ID. It is the person who is calling this. It is called the saved user. Okay. Now, if there are a few options, if saved user dot user ID is equal to ticket dot reporter, somebody who reported the ticket should have the power to update the ticket. Does that make sense? I'll just give me 1 second. I'll just. I'll just do can update, and no, I just want can update, and in here I'll send the saved user ticket. So I'll check whether the current user can update the ticket or not. I'll write a function for this, and let me come here and write. It should be created user assigned. That's exactly correct. Likit. You got it. So we'll have a function called as const can update, which is going to take the user and ticket, and it is going to return user dot user ID should be equal to ticket dot reporter, or user dot user ID should be equal to ticket dot reporter. I'll write it in a separate line. Just give me 1 second. Or user dot user type equal to consts. Either it is assigned to you, or it is created by you, or you are the admin. User types dot admin. Either you are admin, or you are the engineer who is assigned to it, or you are the customer who has created it. And this should be reporter, and this should be assignee. Either of these three conditions is true, then you can update. Otherwise, you cannot update. Is that clear? Can update? Is the can update function clear? If you cannot update, you can just do console.log. Here we are not sending result as argument. No, we don't need to send it in create update, can update function. What that reporter assignee contains, it contains the user ID. Look at it. You can see here, when I created the list, I saved the user ID as the engineer's user ID. No, it should be or. any one of these can, it is not that he has to be the user or he has to be the assignee and the reporter and the admin as well. It should be or. Any one of these three can do it. Yeah. Valid doubt. Perfectly valid doubt. Now, I can write a string ticket was being updated by someone without access. I'll just write without access. And status, status 401, send. Ideally, there should also be a try and catch block, but I'm not writing it. I mean, it's okay. I'm just ignoring it for the timing. But there can be a try and catch block. This is just going to be ticket. Is normal user able to update the ticket? Yes, the user who has created it, the customer can update it. In line 61, when it will happen? It will happen when can update returns false. Suppose line number 58 returns false. What does that mean? You don't have access to the ticket. Why find user? Because you want to check his type, user type. Suraj, you need to check the user type in case he is admin. Therefore, you need to find the user. Does that make sense? Check this line. Look at this line. This line. User type, user.user type. How do you get the user type from user ID alone? You'll have to get the user document. Does that make sense, Suraj? Okay, so he can update this, and once he has the right to update, I can update the whole ticket. And here is how I can update the ticket. Ticket 91, it says it is a console log statement which says so ticket has been. I don't like this sentence. Just give me 1 second. Let me rephrase it. Ticket has been tried. First of all, it was attempted. Ticket update was attempted by someone without access to the ticket. Without access, I'll just write access. See what I've written here? Ticket update was attempted someone without access to the ticket. Access is a loaded word, Nilanjan. What was attempted. A ticket update was attempted by someone. So it is saying that there was an error. It is saying that cannot be done because he didn't have right to it. Okay. So it cannot be updated. Hariharan, I am coming to your doubt. Just give me 1 second. Let me clarify, Nilanjan. Sir, in line 54? Yeah, it's just a caution. Yes. In line number 54, we are just checking user available in DB or not, right? No, in line number 54, we are getting the user so that we can send him across to the can update function and check his user type. Okay, you get the user, send it to can update, check his user type. If it is admin, then okay. Otherwise, and if he's either he should be admin or he should be the assignee or the reporter. If none of these three parties are involved, then you don't allow him to update. Yeah, sure. That's what it is. Now let's look at different parts of this. Type ticket.title. Ticket.title is equals dot body dot title. If request dot body dot title is not undefined, then you keep it as if it is not equal to undefined, then you keep it as equal to. Change the title. If there is a request to change the title, change it. Otherwise, keep the old title. Similarly, if there is a request to change the description, ticket dot description. If there is a request to change the description, then check request dot description. Request dot body dot description not equal to undefined. This is the case. If it is not undefined, you can do request dot body dot description. Else, I don't like this here. Take it to the next step. Colon request. You can just do ticket dot description. That is one. Then you'll have ticket priority. The same thing will follow. Ticket priority. Request dot body dot ticket priority not equal to undefined. This is not defined. And request dot body dot ticket priority. Else you can do ticket priority. Ticket priority. Are you following what I'm doing here? If the variable is present in the request, change it. If the variable is not present in the request, do nothing. Or keep the old variable. Hello, am I making sense? We have done title, description, and priority. There's also status. The same thing will follow. Ticket status. This is probably the most important one. You will typically want to change the status equal to undefined. Window request. Again, sir, I'm going to explain. Just give me 1 second. Ternary condition is not understood. I'm going to explain. Don't worry about it. What does this ternary condition say? Hariharan, can you try to make a guess over what this ternary condition is saying? You have a ticket object and you have a request.body object. There are two objects that are given to you, request.body and ticket. You want to override the values of ticket object that are undefined, that are present in the request.body object. Does that make sense? Is my English making sense? You have a request.body and you have a ticket. And you want to overlap the request.body on top of ticket, which is going to create a new ticket. Not getting? Okay, just give me 1 second. Will create a new ticket? No, it will not create a new ticket. It will save in the current ticket itself. It will save these changes in the current ticket object. What is update? What does update do? Update is going to update the ticket document. Whatever ticket document you have, its value will get updated. And let me write the last line and then I'll explain it one more time. Just give me 1 second. Ticket dot assignee is equal to request dot body dot assignee. I'll explain it with a scenario and it will make perfect sense. Just give me 1 second. A request dot body assignee ticket dot assignee. Okay. And then the last line also is await ticket dot save. Then save the ticket. And then what you can do is the dot status. I'm going to explain the code. Just give me 1 second. Send object converter dot response updated. You send the ticket. Okay. I'll save this and let me explain this part with a diagram. I'll stop this sharing. Suppose I created a ticket. Its name was my first ticket. My first ticket. This ticket will be an object which will contain our title, our description. It will contain a priority. It will contain maybe a reporter and so on. Now there is a request.body. If request.body.title is not defined, is not equal to undefined, which means that there is a title provided, there is a new title provided, there will be a request.body. And this body will contain few things. It will not contain all the values. It will contain maybe title, which means I just want to update the title. Maybe the title was ABC, and now I want to update it to XYZ. Now let's go back to the definition. Let's go back to the ternary operator. The ternary operator will say request.body.title not equal to undefined. What does that mean? My request.body has a new title in it. So what should I do in this case? What should I do if my request.body has a new title? It is not undefined. Make a guess. Change the title. Change the title of the ticket. Update should happen. Ticket.title should get updated to request.body.title. Does that make sense? Is it making sense? Yeah, so that's what this is doing. And that's what rest of the and now I think most of you who had a doubt about that code are able to understand it, because now it is very simple. All of them are, if not provided, we do nothing. We don't do anything. Exactly, Likith, you got it right. If this is not provided, you don't do anything. And finally, you save it, and that's all there is to this. There should be a try catch block in case you are finding one ticket. While you are doing find one, you can put it inside a try catch block. True first, else second. Yeah, that is one way of writing it. Yes, Niranjan. What you can do is you can directly do ticket request body.title or ticket.title. This is more JavaScript way of writing it. You could have written this condition. Is this what you're talking about, Niranjan? Try writing it like that. That will be a good idea. Yeah, you can write that. I just mentioned it explicitly. That's okay. Now I'm going to save this and run the code again. This time with the new code. Hopefully it will run. Just expected token. Okay, can update should be a function. So I'll just do a arrow function here. Save this and again run this. What's happening? If I do Control C, yeah. This is. I just close this. Kill terminal. Open a new terminal. Let it open. Go to CD9. This node. Yes. Now it is getting created. Seems to be working. Now I'll go to my Postman. And this time, as the admin, I'm going to remove this part. And I'm going to do the first ticket updated. I'm going to remove this comma. And this put operation should be changed to, post should be changed to put. And there should be an ID that I got. This ID is what the ticket ID is. So let me copy this ID. And I'll just paste it here. I paste the ID in front of tickets. And let me see what happens. If I send this, ticket gets updated. Okay? The ID remains the same, but the ticket says the first ticket updated. Happy? Yes. How good it feels. So this is one thing I just want to spend a few minutes talking about this point. If you are doing things correctly, things should work out. I mean, if you're building the whole system with the proper principles, if you have all the pieces intact, there's no reason for the system not to work. Okay. Typically, things will occur, things will do wrong, things will go wrong if you don't know the bigger picture first. Because if you have the bigger picture in mind, then you can easily fix the issues. Like whatever issues are coming, you can easily fix them in the system. Because for you, it's not a 10,000 line code. For you, it's just 5 lines of code. That is, you know the flow of the code. So this is just 5 lines of code that is running. Whereas somebody who just looks at a system which is this big might be thinking, what is going wrong in the system? I cannot figure it out. And that will take a long time for them to figure out. So if you're building it correctly, there should not be an error. And that should be the ideal state. There's a lot of students who have anxiety about computers. I mean, even if they're computer sciences students, they have anxiety in their brain, which says somehow my code will not work. Did you ever had that anxiety? That uncertainty that the code will somehow not work? That lack of confidence on the code? Hello? Do you have that? Yeah. I'll take a different class on that whole psychology of I'll take a class on psychology of a software developer sometime. Maybe yeah. I'm going to push the code. That is true. But basically the idea is you should not have that worry if you have the big picture in mind. There are 2 more controllers left in today's lecture. Maybe next lecture I'll add those controllers, or maybe I'll have extra lecture. I don't know. Most probably we will be able to finish, but if we are not able to finish. Today it took extra time because I had to cover some of the things that I've covered on Saturday again, because some of you were not there on Saturday. But that's okay. We'll cover more things in the coming lectures. I hope you're enjoying the sessions and learning something new. I hope to see you again on Wednesday. Bye everyone. Good night. Thanks. Good night. I've pushed the changes earlier. I've pushed the changes. Yeah. You can fetch it from there. Yeah. Bye. I'm ending the class.